Welcome to the Daily English Learning Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Daily English Learning Podcast. We're your hosts, Olivia and Martin, and today we're diving into a super important grammar topic that'll make you sound like a fluent English speaker. Ready to become a pro at past simple versus past continuous?
Oh, the past tenses. Now, there's a battle for the ages. I can just imagine two time-traveling grammarians duking it out over which form to use, and the winner as well, both actually. But how do we know which one to use when? Let's find out.
Exactly, Martin. These two tenses are key to describing the past accurately, but the tricky part is knowing when to use one over the other. So, in this episode, we'll explain what each tense does, show you real-life examples, and give you some fun practice to really master the difference.
And don't worry, by the end of this, you'll be using them like a pro. So, let's start at the beginning. What exactly are the past simple and past continuous tenses? Let's break them down.
All right, let's start with past simple. This tense is used to describe completed actions in the past. Think of it as something that started in the past and finished in the past. For example, I ate breakfast at 7 a.m. yesterday. That action is done and dusted. No lingering, no ongoing.
Right, and the structure is pretty straightforward. You take the base form of the verb and add ed for regular verbs. So walk becomes walked, play becomes played, and so on. Irregular verbs, well, they're a bit more fun. Go becomes went, have becomes had. There are a ton of them, but they become second nature over time.
Exactly, Martin. And the past simple is also used for habitual actions in the past, like I walked to work every day when I lived in London. It shows a repeated action that happened regularly in the past. Mart 1n. Now, moving on to past continuous. This one is used to describe actions that were happening at a specific time in the past. The action might still be going on, or it might have stopped, but the focus is on what was going on at a particular moment. For example, I was eating breakfast at 7 a.m. yesterday. See the difference? It's like a snapshot of what was happening at that exact moment. And the structure for the past continuous is was, were, plus the present participle of the verb. So eat becomes was eating, run becomes was running. Simple enough once you get the hang of it.
Let's look at some real-life examples to make it clear. First, with the past simple. I visited Paris last year. That action is complete. Start stay. Then, with the past continuous, I was visiting Paris last year when I got a text from my mom. The key difference is the specific time point in the past continuous example.
Exactly, the past simple is about completed actions, while the past continuous is about actions that were ongoing at a specific time. Let's do a few more examples to make it stick.
Okay, here's another one. I called my friend at 7 p.m. yesterday. That's past simple. It's a completed action. Now, the same action but in the past continuous. I was calling my friend at 7 p.m. yesterday. The action was in progress at that time.
And here's another example. I studied for my exam last night. Past simple action completed. Now, I was studying for my exam last night when my phone rang. Past continuous with the interruption of the phone call. So the focus is on what was happening at that moment.
So, to sum up, the past simple is for completed actions, and the past continuous is for actions that were happening at a specific time in the past. But how do we know when to use which? That's the fun part. Let's take a closer look in our next section. But before we go there, let's make sure you've got the basics down. What's the main difference between the two tenses, Olivia?
The main difference is that past simple describes completed actions in the past, while past continuous describes actions that were ongoing at a specific time in the past. So, the past simple is about what happened, and the past continuous is about what was happening at a particular moment.
Got it. So, next up, we're going to dive deeper into how these tenses interact, especially when they're used together, because sometimes you might have one action in the past happening at the same time as another action.
Right. For example, I was watching TV when the power went out. Here, the past continuous is used for the action that was ongoing, and the past simple is used for the action that interrupted it. This is a common structure in English.
And that's a great example. The structure is past continuous for the ongoing action, and past simple for the action that interrupts it. So, if you're describing something that was happening when something else happened, you use the past continuous for the ongoing action and the past simple for the interrupting action.
Exactly. Let's look at another example. She was cooking dinner when the fire alarm went off. Again, the cooking was ongoing, and the fire alarm interrupting it is in past simple.
Now, let's consider a slightly more complex example. I was walking to the store when it started to rain. The walking was ongoing, and the rain started at that moment. So, the past continuous for the ongoing action, and the past simple for the interrupting action.
Right. So the structure is pretty consistent. You use the past continuous for the ongoing action and the past simple for the interrupting action. But what happens when you want to talk about two ongoing actions in the past happening at the same time?
Good question. In that case, you use the past continuous for both actions. For example, I was studying while my brother was watching TV. Both actions were happening at the same time, so both are in the past continuous.
Exactly. So, if you want to describe two actions that were happening simultaneously, you use the past continuous for both. That's a common mistake many learners make, so it's important to remember.
Another point to consider is the use of time expressions. For example, last night at 8 p.m., I was working on my report. The time expression at 8 p.m. helps to set the scene for the ongoing action.
Right. Time expressions like at 7 p.m. when I got home or last weekend often go with the past continuous to specify when the action was happening.
But what if you don't use a time expression? For example, I was reading when the phone rang. Here, the time expression is not needed because the context already gives the clue that the reading was ongoing when the phone rang.
That's a good point. The time expression isn't always necessary. The context usually gives you the clue. So, when you hear, I was reading when the phone rang, you immediately know that the reading was ongoing when the phone rang.
Exactly. So, the key is to remember that the past continuous is used for ongoing actions, and the past simple is used for completed actions or actions that interrupt other actions. But what about when you want to talk about a series of completed actions in the past?
Great question, Martin. In that case, you use the past simple for all the actions. For example, I got up, brushed my teeth, had breakfast, and left for work. All these actions are completed, so they're all in the past simple.
And if you want to emphasize the sequence of events, you can use time expressions like first, then, or after that. For example, I first got up, then brushed my teeth, had breakfast, and left for work. It all happens in the past, and all in sequence.
Right. So when you want to talk about a sequence of past actions, the past simple is the way to go. But when you want to talk about an ongoing action that was interrupted by another action, you use the past continuous for the ongoing action and the past simple for the interrupting action.
And when you want to talk about two ongoing actions happening at the same time, you use the past continuous for both. It's all about the context and the timing.
Exactly. So, the main thing to remember is that the past simple and past continuous are used for different purposes. The past simple is for completed actions, and the past continuous is for actions that were ongoing at a specific time.
So, next time you're describing what happened in the past, ask yourself, was the action completed, or was it ongoing at a specific time? That'll help you choose the right tense.
And remember, if you want to describe an ongoing action that was interrupted by another action, use the past continuous for the ongoing action and the past simple for the interrupting action.
And if you want to describe two actions happening at the same time, use the past continuous for both.
Exactly. So in our next section, we'll be diving even deeper into the nuances of these tenses and we'll look at some common mistakes and exceptions. Stay with us.
All right, let's go into the deep dive. If you want to really master these tenses, there are a few nuances and exceptions you need to know.
For example, did you know that the past continuous can also be used to describe background actions or to set the scene in a story? It's a common technique in writing and storytelling. For example, it was getting dark when I saw a figure in the distance. Here, the past continuous is used for the background action of it getting dark, and the past simple is used for the main action of seeing the figure.
That's a great example, Olivia. Using the past continuous to describe the background sets the scene, and creates a sense of atmosphere. It's like painting a picture with words.
Exactly. So if you're writing a story or describing a past event, using the past continuous for background actions and the past simple for key events can make your writing more vivid and engaging.
And speaking of storytelling, sometimes the past continuous is used to show that two actions were happening at the same time, but from different perspectives. For example, while I was preparing dinner, my son was doing his homework. Both actions are ongoing, and they're happening simultaneously.
Right. The past continuous is also used to show contrast between actions. For example, I was studying while my friends were partying. It highlights the difference between what was happening for each person.
Another nuance is the use of the past continuous to express a polite or tentative request. For example, I was wondering if you could help me with this. It sounds more polite than a direct request like, can you help me?
That's a great point, Martin. Using the past continuous in this way softens the tone of the request and makes it feel more considerate.
And here's something interesting. Sometimes the past continuous is used to describe a past event in a more dramatic or vivid way. For example, it was raining hard when the storm hit the town. The use of the past continuous adds to the intensity of the scene.
Exactly. It creates a more immersive experience for the listener or reader.
Now, let's talk about some common exceptions and tricky points. One thing to note is that not all verbs are used in the past continuous. Verbs that describe states, feelings, or thoughts are usually not used in the continuous form. For example, I felt sad, not I was feeling sad.
That's right. So, verbs like feel, believe, know, like, and love are not used in the continuous form because they describe states rather than actions.
But there are exceptions. For example, you might say, I was loving the movie. Here, loving is used in the continuous form to express a feeling that was ongoing at that time. So, it's not a rule of thumb, but more of a style choice.
Right? So, while most state verbs are not used in the continuous form, some can be used in the continuous form to emphasize a temporary feeling or attitude.
Another exception to be aware of is the use of the past continuous with time expressions like every day, always, or usually. These are usually used with the past simple to describe habitual actions. For example, I was going to the gym every day. Here, the continuous form is used to emphasize the frequency or regularity of the action.
That's a good point. The continuous form can sometimes be used to add emphasis to habitual actions, even though the past simple is the more common choice.
And here's a tricky one. When you use the past continuous to talk about a past event, you can sometimes omit the subject if it's clear from the context. For example, was it raining when you left the house? The subject it is omitted because it's clear from the question.
Exactly. That's a common technique in conversation to keep things concise and natural.
So, to recap, the key points from this deep dive are: the past continuous can be used to set the scene, contrast actions, or show a temporary feeling. It can also be used with certain time expressions for emphasis. But be careful with state verbs. They're usually not used in the continuous form.
And don't forget the exceptions and nuances we discussed. These can really help you sound more natural and fluent when using these tenses in real life situations.
Now that we've covered the basics and the nuances, let's move on to some fun scenarios. I think our listeners would love to see how these tenses are used in everyday situations. So, let's put ourselves in the shoes of some real people and see how the past simple and past continuous come into play.
Great idea, Martin. Let's start with a common scenario: ordering food. Imagine you're at a cafe and you're describing your meal to the waiter.
Excuse me, I was just about to order. That's a polite way to interrupt and get the waiter's attention. The past continuous is used here to show that the action was ongoing at the time of speaking.
Right. And then you might say, I would like a coffee and a croissant, please. The past simple is used here for the actual request.
Another example could be a job interview. The interviewer might ask, can you tell me about a time when you was facing a difficult challenge at work? Wait, no, that's not right. It should be, can you tell me about a time when you were facing a difficult challenge at work? That's the past continuous for the ongoing action.
Exactly. So the interviewer is asking for a time when the action was in progress. The past continuous is the right choice here.
Let's imagine another scenario. Texting a friend. You might write, hey, I was just thinking about you. The past continuous is used to show that the thinking was happening at that moment.
Right. And you might respond, I was about to text you too. Again, the past continuous is used to show the action that was ongoing at the time.
Now, let's try a role play where we act out a conversation using these tenses. Let's imagine we're at a party and someone asks us how our day was.
Oh, I was working on a big project all day, you might say. The past continuous shows that the action was ongoing during the day.
What happened? They might ask. I got a call from my boss, you respond. The past simple is used for the completed action.
Oh, what did your boss say? They ask. He was giving me some feedback, you say. The past continuous is used here to show that the feedback was ongoing.
And how did you feel? They ask. I felt a bit nervous, but I managed to handle it, you respond. Here, the past simple is used for the completed actions of feeling and managing.
That's a great example. The past continuous is used to describe ongoing actions, and the past simple is used for completed actions or actions that interrupt other actions.
Let's try another scenario. Maybe a conversation between two friends who are catching up.
So, what did you do this weekend? One friend asks. I was visiting my family in the countryside. The other responds. The past continuous is used to show that the visit was ongoing.
Oh, how was it? The first friend asks. It was really nice, the other says. The past continuous is used here to describe the ongoing feeling.
What happened during your trip? The first friend asks. I got stuck in traffic, the other responds. The past simple is used for the completed action.
Oh no, did you manage to get through? The first friend asks. I did, but it took a while, the other says. The past simple is used for the completed actions of getting through and taking time.
Right. So in this conversation, the past continuous is used to describe ongoing actions, and the past simple is used for completed actions or actions that interrupt other actions.
Let's try one more example. Imagine you're describing a movie to a friend.
I was watching this amazing movie last night, you might say. The past continuous is used to describe the ongoing action of watching.
What happened in the movie? They ask. The hero was trying to save the world. You respond. The past continuous is used here to show that the action was ongoing.
And then what happened? They ask. Suddenly, the villain arrived, you say. The past simple is used for the completed action.
Did the hero succeed? They ask. He did, but it was a close call. You respond. The past simple is used for the completed action, and the past continuous is used for the ongoing feeling.
Exactly. So in this example, the past continuous is used to describe ongoing actions, and the past simple is used for completed actions or actions that interrupt other actions.
All right, so those are just a few examples of how the past simple and past continuous are used in everyday situations. Now let's move on to the next section, common mistakes. Because, let's face it, even the best English learners can make a few blunders with these tenses.
Right. So let's start with one of the most common mistakes, using the past continuous for actions that are not ongoing. For example, I was going to the store. If the action is completed, the past simple should be used. I went to the store till.
That's a good example. Another common mistake is using the past simple for actions that were ongoing at a specific time. For example, I ate breakfast at 7 a.m. yesterday. If the action was ongoing at that time, the past continuous should be used. I was eating breakfast at 7 a.m. yesterday.
Exactly. So the key is to remember that the past continuous is used for actions that were ongoing at a specific time, while the past simple is used for actions that are completed.
Another common mistake is mixing up the forms. For example, I was eating breakfast when the phone rings. The verb tenses need to match. It should be, I was eating breakfast when the phone rang. Both actions are in the past.
Right. The past continuous is used for the ongoing action, and the past simple is used for the interrupting action. So, the tenses need to match.
Let's look at another mistake, using the past continuous for state verbs. For example, I was loving the movie. While this can be acceptable in casual speech, it's not the standard form. The past simple should be used. I loved the movie.
That's a good point. State verbs like love, like, believe, and know are usually not used in the continuous form. So, it's better to use the past simple for these verbs.
Another mistake is using the past continuous in situations where the past simple is more appropriate. For example, I was working yesterday. If the action is completed and you want to describe it in general, the past simple should be used. I worked yesterday.
Right. The past continuous is used for actions that were ongoing at a specific time, while the past simple is used for completed actions or general past events.
So, the key is to ask yourself, was the action ongoing at a specific time, or was it completed? That'll help you choose the right tense.
And remember, not all verbs are used in the continuous form. So be careful with state verbs. They're usually not used in the continuous form.
All right, let's move on to the next section. We've covered the basics, the nuances, and the common mistakes. Now, it's time for a quick quiz to test your knowledge. I'm going to ask Olivia some questions, and you can test your knowledge too by trying to answer in your head or out loud.
Great idea, Martin. Let's start with the first question.
What is the correct tense for the sentence? I breakfast at 7 a.m. yesterday? Is it past simple or past continuous?
If the action was completed at that time, it should be past simple. I ate breakfast at 7 a.m. yesterday. But if the action was ongoing at that time, it should be past continuous. I was eating breakfast at 7 a.m. yesterday.
Exactly. So, the answer depends on whether the action was completed or ongoing at that time.
Right. So the key is to determine whether the action was completed or ongoing at the specific time.
Next question. Which tense is used to describe an action that was ongoing when another action happened? Past simple or past continuous?
That's a classic. The past continuous is used for the ongoing action, and the past simple is used for the interrupting action. For example, I was watching TV when the phone rang.
Perfect. The structure is past continuous for the ongoing action and past simple for the interrupting action.
Another one. Which tense is used to describe two actions happening at the same time? Past simple or past continuous?
That's a tricky one. For two actions happening at the same time, both actions are in the past continuous. For example, I was studying while my brother was watching TV.
Right. So the past continuous is used for both actions.
All right. Final question. Which tense is used for habitual actions in the past? Past simple or past continuous?
For habitual actions in the past simple is used, for example, I walked to work every day when I lived in London.
Exactly. So, the past simple is used for regular or repeated actions in the past.
Great job, Martin. And if you got all the answers right, give yourself a high five. If not, don't worry, this is all part of the learning process.
Now, let's move on to the next section, practical tips and homework. Because what good is all this knowledge if you don't put it into practice?
Right. So to really master the past simple and past continuous tenses, you need to practice using them in real-life situations. One fun way to do this is to write a short story or a diary entry using both tenses. For example, you can describe a day in your life using the past simple for completed actions and the past continuous for ongoing actions.
Another great idea is to record yourself speaking in English and then listen back to check if you're using the correct tenses. You can also ask a friend or language partner to give you feedback.
And don't forget to pay attention to the time expressions. Words like at 7 p.m., when I got home, or last weekend can help you determine which tense to use.
So, here's your homework. Choose a recent event in your life and describe it using both the past simple and the past continuous tenses. For example, you can describe your last weekend using the past simple for completed actions and the past continuous for ongoing actions.
And if you want to take it a step further, try writing a short story where you use both tenses. For example, you can describe a day at the park using the past continuous for background actions and the past simple for key events.
And remember, the key is to practice regularly. The more you use these tenses in real-life situations, the more natural and fluent you'll become.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes. The important thing is to keep practicing and learning from your errors.
All right, that's it for our practical tips and homework. Now, let's wrap up this episode.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the past simple and past continuous tenses. We hope you've learned something new and feel more confident using these tenses in your English speaking and writing.
If you found this episode helpful, Please don't forget to subscribe to the Daily English Learning Podcast. It's the best way to stay up to date with all our new episodes and improve your English every day.
And if you have any questions or want to share your progress, feel free to reach out to us on social media. We love hearing from our listeners.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep speaking English with confidence.
And remember, every day is a new opportunity to learn something new. See you next time on the Daily English Learning Podcast.